ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति 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 अरुणाचल शिवाय अरुणाचल शिवाय अरुणाचल शिवाय। नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं आपको इस वीडियो में भगवान श्री रामना महर्षि का स्टे इन विरूपक्षा केव फ्रॉम 1899 to 1916. So I will describe the time spent in Virupaksha cave by Maharishi. The formless and imperishable real stands revealed in the Aruna hill, the embodied presence of the three-eyed god. Since the cave named Virupaksha sustains the very devotees who dwell within the heart cave of that god, well, maybe call it mother. This was said by Bhagavan Ramana. Ramana stayed in the Virupaksha cave for 17 years from 1899 to 1916. Ramana was just a young lad of 20 years when he shifted from Guru Murtam to the Virupaksha cave. Ramana's feelings towards this cave are expressed in the stray verses extracted above. He considers it appropriate to call it mother because it sustains the very devotee who give themselves wholly to the Lord Shiva. Aruna Hill, the embodied form of Lord Shiva. This cave is situated on the eastern slopes of the Aruna Hill. It is a unique cave which has the shape of the mystic syllable Om. It is named after Virupaksha Deva, a saint who lived and has been buried there in the 13th century. Many momentous events in the Ramana's life took place during the years of his stay here. It was here that his mother Asgamal came to live with him permanently in the last years of her life. She surrendered herself totally to him and was guided by him on the inward path. Her liberation at the sacred hands of Ramana is an epoch-making event. Another event of immense significance is Ramana's first spoken Upadesha to a disciple, which was given to Ganpati Muni in 1907. Till then, Ramana had remained silent outwardly as well. It was again at Virupaksha that Ramana communicated the experience of his enlightenment through his spiritual instructions to Gandhiram Sheshiyar and Shiv Prakasam Pillai. In writing about the Virupaksha age of Ramana, one might say that it is not a biographer's account but almost an autobiographical account by Ramana himself. In the initial years, in an attempt was made by the trustees of the Virupaksha Math who owned the cave to levy a small charge for the entry. Ramana did not want any kind of interference with his accessibility. Hence, he moved out of the cave to a level path of ground outside it and sat under the shade of a tree there. When the agent tried to levy a fee there also, Ramana shifted to the nearby Satguru Swami Cave for a short time. The trustees, realizing the inconvenience caused, stopped levying the fee so that Ramana could return to the Virupaksha cave. An event while at this cave as narrated by Ramana is fascinating. In those days I used to go all by myself for answering calls of nature, and I used to stroll along taking no water with me but going wherever water may be available. It was on one such occasion, on one morning, that I came across the banyan tree of which I have spoken often. As I was walking on the bed of a hill stream, I saw a big banyan tree on a boulder with big leaves and crossing the stream. I wanted to get to other bank and view from there this big tree when I accidentally put my left foot near a bush on the way to the other bank so that the hornets clustered around my uh, view from there this big tree when I accidentally put my left foot near a bush on the way to the other bank so that the hornets clustered around my left leg up to the knee and started stinging it. They never did anything to my right leg. I left the leg there for some time so that Hornest could inflict full punishment on the leg which had encroached on their domain. After time, the Hornest withdrew and I walked on. The leg got swollen very much and I walked with difficulty and reached Azusnai 7 Springs about 2 a.m. Swami, who was camping there, then gave me some buttermilk mixed with jaggery, which was all that he could provide by way of food. This is what actually happened, but afterwards, people have gone and written that I had purposely set out to explore and find the banyan tree described in the Purana as the one on the northern peak of the hill where Arunachala is said to be residing as a Siddha. I never had any such idea when I saw for the first time a remarkable banyan tree on a huge and precipitous boulder. I was prompted by curiosity to have a look at it. Meanwhile, the hornet stung me and I forgot all about the tree. The last words I forgot all about the tree show Ramana's sense of humor. Ramana also composed a stray verse on this incident which is extracted below. Apology to Hornet. When I was stung by Hornet in revenge upon the leg until it was inflamed, although it was by chance I stepped upon their nest, constructed in a leafy bush. What kind of mind is his if he does not at least repent for doing such a wrong? Composition of the five high months. We have an account of how the decade on Arunachala and 8 verses on Arunachala came to be composed by Ramana spontaneously. One morning when he was sitting on the veranda in Virupaksha Cave, the words Cornelius and I came to him very insistently, but he took no special notice of them. It seemed the same thing happened the following morning also. Then Bhagavan composed the first stanza of the decade on Arunachala. The next morning, the words beginning the second stanza similarly came to him, and he composed the second stanza, and so the thing went on every day till the last two stanzas were composed on one day. On that day, after composing the two last stanzas, Bhagavan, it seems, started for a Giri Pradakshina going round the hill. One of his disciples, Ayya Swami, brought a piece of paper and pencil and told another disciple who was going with Bhagwan. Bhagwan has been composing one stanza every morning for some days now, and today he has composed two stanzas more. More may come to him today. In case they do have this paper and pencil with you so that the same may be recorded. Bhagwan actually composed the first 6 stanzas of the Arunachala Ashtakam, 8 verses on Arunachala. It seems Ek- Ekama first got the marital garland of letters published. Narayana Reddy came to know of the uh, Padikam and Ashtakam soon afterwards and wanted to publish them. Then Bhagwan composed two more stanzas for completed the Ashtakam and decade Padikam, and 8 verses Ashtakam were published by Narayana Reddy. This is how the Padikam and Ashtakam in the five hymns on Arunachala came to be composed. The most famous of Ramana's five hymns on Arunachala is the marital garland of letters with the refrain Arunachala Siva. This was also mostly composed during Ramana's circuits of Arunachala. The story of the need for composing these 108 verses has been mentioned by Ramana. In order to feed Ramana and the fellow devotees at the Virupaksha, it became necessary to beg for alms in the streets of Tiruvannamalai. Palani Swami wanted Ramana to compose a new devotional hymn so that Ramana's group may be identified by the people of the town. After it was composed, a party of four led by Plani Swami would start out to town, blow a long blast on these conches and start chanting the marital garland of letters. This was an announcement to the townspeople that Bhagwan's party had left the cave on their begging mission. The party would give another blast when they reached the foot of the hill. A third call would be sounded at the entrance of the street. All the residents of the street would be ready with their offerings, and the party would march along the street singing and some collecting the offering. The food collected was ample, it seems, for all who gathered near Bhagwan and even all of the monkeys, etc. The marital garland of letters was specially composed for use by the begging party. Bhagwan humorously added, marital garland of letters fed us for many years. Ramana with the children. Even though Ramana remained silent in the first years of stay at Virupaksha Cave, many children and would climb up to the cave and sit for long periods just to be in his presence. After 1907, sometime Ramana would join the children in their play. He played marbles with them and referred to this later as follows. The holes dug for the purpose must be there even now. Those children sometimes used to bring packets of sweetmeat and we all used to share them. During Deepavali, they used to put aside my share of the crackers and bring them up to me. We used to fire the crackers together. Ramana has also narrated how two children were emotionally moved when he was about 22 and living in the Virupaksha cave. It seems he was sitting on a rock near the cave and a boy about 8 or 10 came there, looked at Ram Bhagwan and not being able to bear the sight of such a young and bright person taking to such a hard life of penance, was so moved by compassion that he started to sob and sobbed violently for some time. Bhagwan said, who could say what was the reason for his sobbing and why tears flowed out of him merely at his seeing me. Bhagwan continued in reminiscent, reminiscent mood later in the day and added that another boy also about 8 or 10 years old met Bhagwan another day at Virupaksha Cave. He took such pity on Bhagwan that the following conversation took place between them. Bhagwan was sitting on a rock near the cave all alone and the boy met him there. Boy, who are you here all alone like this? Bhagwan, I had some trouble at home and so have come away like this. Boy, why are you here all alone like this? Bhagwan, I had. Okay. Boy, then how about your food? Bhagwan, I eat if anybody gives me anything to eat. Boy, I have a good master. I shall take you to him. First, you may have to volunteer your service free. If he approves of your work, he will give three pies a day and gradually increase it to 6 pies and so on. Bhagwan added. There was no doubt that the boy was very much concerned over what he considered my sad plight and that he was moved by grace and genuine pity. Some other incidents. One day, Ramana was doing a small masonry job when some visitors came up in order to see the Swami. He told them Swami has gone out. When they were returning down the hill, they met a Kamma who told them that the person whom they had met was none other than the Swami. She later asked Ramana why he had misled the man, to which Ramana replied, "Do you want me to go about with a bell around my neck announcing I am the Swami, or to have a label on my forehead that I am the Swami?" In 1912, a group of devotees headed by Vasudeva Sastri wished to celebrate Ramana's birthday for the first time. Ramana opposed it, saying that the true birth is only when one becomes self-aware. But Vasudeva Sastri pleaded with him, saying, "It is for our sake and Bhagwan would not object." Thus they celebrated it that year for the first time. Since then, the celebration known as Jayanti has been a very important occasion for all the disciples and devotees of Ramana. Once Ramana's grandmother came to see him. This is Ramana's account of it. She came while we were there and said that she would cook food for him herself. He he told her that she could do so in the cave nearby. She agreed and started cooking. She said to me, Venkataramana, I am cooking today. You should not take any other food." I said yes, but after she left, I ate with the others as usual. When she had cooked, I ate that food also. An old relative of Ramana's, known for his abusive tongue, came along. He was really good-natured man and meant no ill to anybody. Soon after he came, he asked jocularly, "What, Venkataramana, it seems you have become a big Swami. Have you grown horns or your head?" While at Virupaksha, Ramana also wrote it in prose a Tamil translation of Viveka Chudamani, a sacred scripture composed by Adi Sankara. Right from Guru Murtam days, Palani Swami used to bring Ramana spiritual books from the library in the town. As Virupaksha also he continued to do so. Thus Ramana became more and more acquainted with the sacred lore of Vedanta. In his early years in Virupaksha Cave, he would occasionally visit Padmanabha Swami, popularly called Jatai Swami because of his matted hair. The Swami had several Sanskrit books, through some of which Ramana would glance and remember all that he had read. We have already seen that even as a boy at school, he was remarkable for his prodigious memory. A scholar once came to the cave and left a copy of Shankaracharya's Viveka Chudamani, a metrical manual of Vedanta which expounds the truth of Advaita in a clear and comprehensive manner. Ramana read it, and also a metrical Tamil version produced by Plani Swami. Then it occurred to him that a prose translation would be very useful for aspirants who did not know Sanskrit. So he undertook the translation, which came to be printed and published under the following circumstances. Udandi Nayanar, who was the first regular devotee to be attached by Ramana, was called away in 1897 to the headquarters of the ascetic order to which he belonged. 7 years later, he returned with 100 rupees as his offering. The master refused to accept it since he had no use for money and would not touch it. Nayanar left the money with a devotee, asking him to utilize it for any good cause of his. The master approved. It was spent on printing the translation of the Vivek Chudamani. In those years, there used to be trig- tigers and leopards on Arunachala. Ramana had no fear because the sign of Jnani is desirelessness and fearlessness. Hence, the wild animals could not be frightened of his. An interesting incident is recorded by Vasudeva Sastri in the broad daylight. Swamiji and I were seated on the rock outside the cave. In the valley below, a tiger and a leopard were playing with each other, and Bhagwan was smiling as he watched the friendly movements of the two animals. I was high, however, in a terrible fright and requested Bhagwan to come into the cave. He was adamant and sat there motionless. As for myself, I sought the shelter of the cave. The two animals played about for a while, looked at Swamiji in the same way pets do, and without any fear or expression of anger, went their own way, one going up the hill and other down. When I came out of the cave and asked Swamiji, were not you afraid when the two animals were playing so close to you? Bhagwan said with a smile, why have fear? I knew as I saw them that after a while one of them would go up the hill and the other down. And they did. If we get frightened and say, oh, a tiger, they will also get frightened and say, oh, a man, and will rush toward to kill us. If we do not have fear, they too will not have any fear and will then move about freely and peacefully. In spite of all that Bhagwan had said, Sastri added, my fear never left me. Ramana would never take anything without sharing it with all those present. As a result, often there would not be enough food to go around. Ramana has narrated what used to happen when I was in Virupaksha Cave. Sundaresa Iyer used to go out into the town for bhiksha and bring us food. At times there used to be no curry or chutney. People to eat were many while the food obtained was limited. What were we to do? I used to mix it into a paste and pour hot water over it to make it like gruel, and then give a glassful to each and take one myself. Sometimes we all used to feel that it would be better if we had at least some salt to mix with it. But where was money to buy salt? We should have had to ask someone for it. If once we began to ask for salt, we would feel like asking for dal, and when we ask for dal, we would feel like asking for pyasam and so on. So we felt that we should not ask, but if once we began to ask for salt, we would feel like asking for dal, and when we ask for dal, we would feel like asking for pyasam and so on. So we felt that we should not ask for anything and swallowed the gruel as it was. We used to feel extremely happy over such a diet, and as the food was sattvic without spice of any kind, and there was not even salt on it. Not only was it healthy for this body, but there was also great peace for the mind. The the most significant event after enlightenment. The first biographer B.V. Narasimha Swami had interviewed Ramana about an incident which happened in 1912 while he was staying at the Virupaksha Cave. This interview is given as an appendix to Narasimha Swami's biography under the heading A Strange and Remarkable Incident in the Life of Sri Maharshi. The significance of this event is therefore likely to be lost sight of it. In 1912, Ramana Palaniswami and Vasudeva Sastri and a few others went from Virupaksha cave to Pachiyaman Coil for taking an oil bath, as facilities for such a bath were available in plenty in that place. After bathing, they returned cutting a path across the hill for themselves. The sun was fairly hot even at about 10 a.m. When they reached the tortoise rock, Ramana began to feel faint, and what happened is best stated in his own words. Suddenly, the view of natural scenery in front of my in front of me disappeared, and a bright white curtain was drawn across the line of my vision and shut out the view of nature. I could distinctly see the gradual process. At one stage, I could see a part of the prospectus of nature yet clear, and the rest was being covered by the advancing curtain. It was just like drawing a slide across one's view in the stereoscope. On experience this, I stopped walking lest I should fall. When it cleared, I walked on. When darkness and faintness overtook me a second time, I leaned against a rock until it cleared, and again for the third time I felt it safest to sit. So I sat near the rock. Then the bright white curtain had completely shut out my vision. My head was swimming, and my blood circulation and breathing stopped. The skin turned a livid blue. It was the regular death-like hue, and it got darker and darker. Vasudeva Sastri took me, in fact, to be dead, held me in his embrace, and began to weep aloud and lament my death. His body was shivering. I could at that time distinctly feel his clasp and his shivering, hear his lamentation, and understand the meaning. I also saw the discoloration of my skin, and I felt the stoppage of my heartbeat and respiration, and the increased chilliness of the extremities of my body. Yet my usual current was continuing without a break in that state also. I was not afraid in the least, nor felt any sadness at the condition of my body. I had closed my eyes as soon I sat near the rock in my usual position, but was not leaning against it. The body which had no circulation nor respiration maintained that position. Still, this state continued for some 10 or 15 minutes. Then a shock passed suddenly through the body. Circulation revived with enormous force, as also respiration, and there was perspiration all over the body at every pore. The color of life reappeared on the skin. I then opened my eyes, got up, and said, "Let us go." We reached Virupaksha Cave without further trouble. That was the only occasion on which both my blood circulation and respiration stopped. At the time of enlightenment, which happened on July 17, 1896, Ramana had only the sudden fear of death. However, in order to go through the experience of what death means, he stretched himself like a corpse, as though rigor mortis had set in, and held his lips tightly together and his breath. It was not a physical death, but an experience of death intensely felt as part of investigation to find out and discover who am I. Still, I felt within myself the I was there, the sound was there, the feeling itself I was there. What was that? I felt that it was a force or a current, a center of energy playing on the body, working on despite the rigidity or activity of the body through existing in connection with it. This experience that the true I was a current or a force or center that constituted the real I stayed with him for rest of life. The second experience is different in that there was a physical death for 10 or 15 minutes. The heartbeat and the blood circulation had stopped, and the body had become cold and blue, but the experience of awareness of the heart current as the I remained. This is the most significant aspect of this experience. Even while narrating the experience Ramana had clearly stated, yet my usual current was continuing as usual without a break in that state also. Ramana himself had referred to this incident in the course of his conversation with V.V. Narasimha Swami years later in 1937. The relevant portion reads as follows: I used to feel the vibration of the heart which resembled those of a dynamo even in school when I developed rigor mortis many years ago in Tiruvannamalai. Every object and sensation disappeared except those vibrations. It was as if a dark screen was drawn before my eyes and shut the world completely from me. But of course, I was all along conscious of the self with a vague feeling that someone was crying near me. This state continued till just before I regained physical consciousness when I felt something rush from the heart to the left chest and re-establish life in the body. One shudders at the thought it what would as to what would have happened if the life force had to re-establish itself in Ramna's body. But when it had to happen only in that way, in the divine scheme of things, one who is aware of the life of Ramana will also be aware that the ear-marked role for Ramana in the divine scheme was to guide seekers of truth as the inner and outer guru on the direct path of self-inquiry for self-knowledge. This role as the Sadguru was to be for about another 5 decades in the body from the date of this experience. Ramana steady self awareness and accessibility. See, I have visited Virupaksha Cave many times and I sat there for meditation for a half hour or 1 hour and tremendous spiritual vibrations are experienced. The experience is blissful and very peaceful. So, those who can visit Ramanaswaram anytime, please, you must visit Virupaksha Cave and Sakanda Ashram because you will have the real experience there. It is the most important part of visiting Ramanaswaram. So, thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and share the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you so much.